to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Good morning, everybody. This is Smith Radio with your host, Brian Smith, giving you something special that we're doing called the Morning News Update. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be counting down the days until the election for Donald J. Trump. And today is September 13th. It'll be Tuesday, and it is 56 days until the election. And we will be going every single day, just giving you a morning update, just a little quick update about some of the things that are going on for the day, for the evening, and something to look forward to for tomorrow. And if you want to be a part of the show, you can always give us a call, 513-888-1538. Follow us on Facebook.com/Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. And our YouTube channel is really taken off. I can't stress this enough. We, all of us, are shocked about the YouTube channel just because YouTube had us on such secret probation there for such a long time that it's interesting that we're able to come back to life like other people. So find us on YouTube at Smith Radio, SMYTH Radio. You can get our Twitter handle is at Smith Radio. And follow our tweets. Carrie Smith does a lot of the tweeting there. And I do a lot of the work on the Facebook page, the Smith Radio Facebook page, where I have a lot of video clips, a lot more information, a lot more articles that kind of go more in depth. Because on Twitter you're limited to so many characters, but on Facebook I can kind of print off, type a paragraph, give you a synopsis of what the article is going to be, so that you can read that and then decide whether you want to get into it. Anyways, so I'm going to touch on Hillary and all the scandals and the tinfoil hat stuff that's going around right now. I'm going to touch on that a little bit, and then here wrap it all up. And at the end, what I'm going to do, Carrie was fortunate enough last night to be able to get a hold of Gary Byrne, who is the author of Crisis of Character. It's an incredible book. If you don't know Gary Byrne was a Secret Service agent that worked in the White House. And he has an incredible history, an incredible story that he talks about. He was in the White House at the very end of George H. Bush when he was president, and then was in the White House right there behind the doors of Hillary and Bill Clinton during their tumultuous time in the White House. The screaming, the yelling, the fighting, the controlling, the paranoia, just the insanity that ensued. And you'll absolutely love the stories that Gary Byrne tells about, the tell-all book about about Clinton, Hillary, Bill, and the lack of character, if you will, the crisis of character, and how they cannot possibly be back in the White House. She cannot be president. It's not possible. It's something that can't be done. So at the end, I'm going to play that. Carrie Smith had a great interview with him. Gary was tweeting out all kinds of details that he saw from the video of Hillary falling face down, trying to get into the van. So I'll play that here in a minute. But before we do that, I want to get to a couple of sound bites and sound clips and kind of talk about some of the things that are going on right now. Apparently, Bill Maher, who's no fan of mine, every once in a while he comes out with a really intelligent idea or comment, but usually it's all liberal, it's all angry, it's all hate-filled. He loves to bash Ann Coulter, he loves to bash conservatives, and apparently here recently he came out and joked about assassinating Donald Trump. The assassination of Donald Trump. If Trump was on the left and Bill Maher was on the right, he would be in prison, or at least visited by the FBI or the IRS. So the double standard still exists, and it's still there. It's still alive and well and kicking. the left is allowed to call for the death and the killing of the right, and that's okay. No problem with that whatsoever. So, Bill Maher, you're still on the bad boy list, if you will. Something else too that I thought was really amazing. Going now, shifting back to Hillary. She tried to say that it was pneumonia. They tried to get into different spin modes. What's the best way to spin this? The Clinton News Network, CNN, got on, and they were trying to spin it the right way, and how strong she is and how great she is. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure if that influenced some of the folks that I know, but there's some folks that I know that are real close to me that are conservative that were telling me, oh, yeah, she's for her to deal with pneumonia and to be this strong and to do what she's doing and to keep it going and keep, oh, yeah, you've got to give her No, I will never give her props for anything whatsoever, because whatever she's doing is a lie. Everything she does is a lie. It's fake and it's a lie. She's lying about pneumonia. I promise you, it's going to come out. She's lying about pneumonia. And if she's not lying about it, she was lying about it before, and now all of a sudden she has to tell people about it now. So which is it? Either you were lying before or you're lying now. And then in 2012, you fell face down trying to get into an aircraft. Was that pneumonia then too? I mean, what about every single time you have fallen down, face down? What about the time at the DNC convention at the very end where all the balloons went up in the air and the face of her just was a really creepy, odd face, almost like a child seeing balloons for the first time and being amazed and awe? Well, Dr. Drew came out and he talked about that. He said that she was in grave danger and needed medical attention, and that she was receiving medical attention from the 1950s. They needed to get with the program of today. Well, within a week, Dr. Drew's show was canceled, and he's no longer on TV. Yeah, that's the Gestapo. That's what the USSR back in the day would do to you. That's what Hitler would do to you. That is what dictatorships and regimes do to you. They silence you and shut you up and shut you down. So just keep your eye on what's real here. Hillary Clinton is willing and able to pay the right people to shut down people like us who have a voice, who have a medium, who are getting the message out there about what is real. And we have to be worried about the IRS knocking on our door. We have to worry about Dr. Drew having his show canceled and millions of dollars taken away from him. Okay, good times. So, here's the article that came out yesterday. Breitbart reported on it. Hillary Clinton's camp is now saying everyone is sick. All of us are sick in the entire camp. We've all got pneumonia. We've all got herpes. We've all got some kind of veterinarian disease. Everybody's got something bad with them, and we are all sick. We're coming down with it. Clinton virus ravages campaign staff. Okay. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, Hillary, but that's what you've done. Another note, some interesting news that came out yesterday. Bill Clinton's CIA director, James Woosley, just happened to join Donald Trump's campaign as senior advisor. It was also by Breitbart, which is pretty amazing. And something else, when you want to talk about shutting people up, slandering people of the right who have opinions, or maybe even those who are strong, stalwart type individuals that don't say much, but they're well respected. The left does nothing but go after them and try and trick them and tear them down, and there's where you get the "I got you" questions. And so Mike Pence, who's Trump's VP, was on CNN the other day, and there was this this whole gotcha thing. They were trying to get him. So David Duke, do you think he's deplorable? And Mike Pence is like, I'm not going down that road. I'm not name calling. What is this? This is ridiculous. And that's exactly what it is. It is ridiculous. What the left was attempting to do is to transfer the word deplorable onto Mike Pence. And if they could do that successfully, then they could say, oh, Mike Pence says deplorable, so it's okay. Hillary said deplorable, but now Mike's saying deplorable too. It's this childish, juvenile, infantile mentality that the left has. It's just unbelievable. It's just suffocating, if you will, at times. So Mike Pence went on Fox News with Brett Baer, and they talked about that real quick. And here's that sound clip from them.
An interview, distance again, you, the Trump campaign, from David Duke, yes, and white nationalist groups. A left-leaning group is out now with an email saying that you didn't call David Duke deplorable.
Donald Trump, I have repeatedly denounced David Duke, and we've said that we don't want his support, and we don't want the support of people who think like David Duke. And yet the media continues to
Well, and there we are. I don't know where that came from, where that was coming from, but I guess we're still on. So let's go ahead and continue with the Mike Pence soundbite.
Support of people who think like David Duke, and yet the media continues to scamper after this. And the question that I got on another network was, do you call him deplorable? But I get it. They wanted me to start using terms that Hillary uses. You've known me a long time. I'm not a name caller. I don't play that game. But we have denounced David Duke repeatedly. We'll continue to do that again. And for Hillary Clinton to literally, and it wasn't just basket of deplorables, but to say that millions of Americans were irredeemable, were not American, and then to call them racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic. I think what you saw there in a prepared speech, it's important your viewers understand that. This wasn't an off-the-cuff remark. This was a statement as part of a prepared speech. This basket of deplorables is a line that she's used at least one other time before.
So was it?
Yeah, so think about that. They actually wrote that down on paper and said, yes, this is what you're going to say to the crowd. You're going to call the majority of Donald Trump supporters in a basket that you refer to as deplorables. Well, apparently, basket of deplorables has gone viral, and everybody's changing their name on Twitter to, like, if my name was Brian Smith on Twitter, it would be Brian Deplorable Smith. Or Deplorable Smith, Deplorable Trump. Like, everybody's like, hashtag I am deplorable, I own it, I'm glad to be deplorable. That's fine. So, once again, something that Hillary has done has backfired in her face. It's erupted, and a lot of people are calling this the Howard Dean scream. That's what it was. That either the Howard Dean scream or Mitt Romney's 47% mess up. When Mitt Romney said when he thought he was off camera or off mic, that somebody was filming him, when he said 47% of the voters don't matter. Well, technically, when you're in an election, 47% of the voters are going to vote for somebody else, probably. However, if you went into it with a mindset that they do matter, there's a good possibility you could get that 47%. And that's what Donald Trump is doing, It's called a big tent, the big tent party. It's all inclusive. It's inclusive of everyone who has love for this country. We may disagree on a lot of different topics, a lot of different ideologies, but one thing is clear. We have love for this country. Now we fast forward. He was talking about the media's trying to trip them up on David Duke again. They won't quit it with this racist, hateful speech type stuff, and they keep trying to push this narrative of racist, bigot, homophobe. I mean, that's just what they do. Let's scroll back. Here's Donald Trump in one of his speeches, and then it'll cut and juxtapose to a panel that's taken back. It's a CNN panel that's taken back and in disbelief that what Trump is saying is true. So give a listen real quick.
And it's so obvious, folks. We're going to have problems like you've never had before. We're being infiltrated. That's what's happening. We are being infiltrated. And it's going to happen. Just like I was right about Brussels. Just like I was right about take the oil. Just like I was right about Osama bin Laden. I wrote about Osama bin Laden in a book, The America We Deserve, that I wrote in the year 2000. That's 2 years before the World Trade Center came down. And people said, no way, no way. You know why? Because I watched him. I saw him. I read about him.
BuzzFeed dug up an old quote from Donald Trump talking about a large-scale terror attack 19 months before 9/11. In his 2000 book, The America We Deserve, Trump wrote, I really am convinced we're in danger of the sort of terrorist attacks that will make the bombing of the 1993 Trade Center look like little kids playing with firecrackers. Trump also mentioned the mastermind of the attack, writing, quote, one day we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number one, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy and a new crisis. Trump.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on a second. Mm-hmm. Is this really Trump before 9/11? Have you read this?
It's 2000 in his book.
Are we making this? Did you make this up, Mika?
Nick.
I did.
Did you make this up?
Yeah,
Nick,
exactly.
tell us it's over, right? Because
Will you
you're wrong
stop?
about everything.
Mika, stop. God.
I don't think it's over.
What's that? What's the rage here? Will you stop
No,
picking
it's
on
cute.
him?
I think it's cute.
Well,
go for it.
No, really quickly, though. I mean, so Willie, that was
2000.
In a book he wrote in the year 2000. Yeah.
Well, it was published in 2000. He could have written in 1999 for all we know.
Exactly. He might have been a bit more prescient.
So he basically predicted the attacks from Osama bin Laden.
Mitleidenschaft gezogen worden. What's your biggest fear, Mr. Trump?
Well, I just went to what they call ground zero. I've never seen anything like it. The devastation, the human life that's been just wasted for no reason whatsoever. It is a terrible scene. It's a terrible sight. But New Yorkers are very strong and resilient, and they'll rebuild quickly.
That's Donald Trump. When we talk about electing somebody for president, that's who we're talking about. That's the person that you want for president. Somebody with vision, somebody with leadership. You might not agree with what he says and how he says it, but he's got vision and he's got leadership. And for those of you out there who keep saying, oh, he's got to watch his mouth, he's got to watch his mouth, he can't say this, he can't say that. Those of you that say that are not listening to him. You're listening to the news media feeding you a load of garbage that's what they want you to think he's saying. And he's not. He's very poignant, to the point, flat out, and making no bones about it. It is what it is. I'm going to tell you in as few amount of words as I possibly can, because I don't want to waste my time in getting my message across. He's not going to sit there and pontificate all afternoon. He's going to say yes, no, okay, let's get it done. And when he says let's build a wall, he means build a wall to keep people out of here, not like West Berlin where they would keep people in from leaving. So don't believe that mess a lie from the media either. That's another one that's been flying around. Okay, now let's get back to Hillary real quick. Here's what's going on with Hillary. People are saying that there's a body double out there. And I think I found it on the internet, on Twitter, via one of our local listeners who sent me the Twitter handle, and it's quite shocking, and it's not unprecedented. It's been done before, where there's a body double. The problem that that social media is having right now is that right after Hillary fell face first into that van, locked up, lost a shoe, drug into the van, and drove away, went straight to her daughter's apartment, and then apparently an hour or two strolled out, saw a little girl, hugged a little girl, and then walked back in. News media and everybody was screaming, trying to get a hold of her. A couple of things that were ironic about that. One, there were no Secret Service around. You didn't see Secret Service at all. So if there's no Secret Service around, that can't be Hillary, because they would be covering her. Another thing, these glasses that she's wearing, these blue glasses. I called it out 6-7 months ago, and that's because I have a sage that I listen to. I call him Ted Sage, and he's an older gentleman that's got a lot of wisdom, that's call him the Sage. And he said, as soon as you see Hillary put those glasses back on, you know it's all over with. Ironically, she came out with these really funky, stylish blue glasses. Kind of weird, kind of odd, because that's not her style. She doesn't dress stylish. Suit pants are not stylish, folks. That's not the in thing. That's not what's in vogue. That's not happening. So she wears these really stylish blue glasses. Come to find out, and I've got the article up on our Facebook page on facebook.com/Smith Radio, and you can see it where the doctor goes on and on and on and describes these glasses, and the reason why they're blue is because they're to help folks that have seizures. I'm not making it up. It's there. It's what it is. Okay. Hillary's body double. I spoke with a woman earlier tonight that is a professional musician and a vocalist. She's a trained professional vocalist. And she said, she talked to another trained vocalist about this interview and this sound clip where Hillary called in to CNN to kind of talk about her health. And listen to her voice. I just want you to listen to Hillary's voice. Don't listen to it like, oh, this isn't Hillary. Listen to it as if you were listening for the influctuations that she normally has, but aren't there now. Whether her voice is too deep or her voice is too high. Those goofy, crackly laughs that she has that really, if you've listened to Hillary, you know she's got a grating, crackling voice. So listen to this real quick. She does a phone in to CNN.
Feeling so much better, and obviously I should have gotten some rest sooner. I probably would have been better off if I'd just pulled down my schedule on Friday, but
okay, that right there, where she almost broke a laugh, that is kind of Hillary-esque. But then we're going into like a deeper, deep-throated voice.
Like a lot of people, I just thought I could keep going forward and power through it, and obviously that didn't work out so well.
And that sounds like Hillary, too. That's kind of what Hillary says.
Let me ask you, your husband said tonight in an interview with Charlie Rose, he said, quote, "Rarely on more than one occasion over the last many, many years, the same sort of things happened to her," meaning you, when she got severely dehydrated. Can you say how many times over the course of the last, say, 5 years you've been dehydrated and gotten dizzy? I know you passed out, hit your head back in 2012, which led to the concussion. How often has this happened?
You know, that's interesting he says it like that. But I thought they were supposed to defend her at all ends, but maybe he's got an angle.
Oh, I think really only twice that I can recall.
Now, Hillary does say recall a lot. She uses that word recall. However, some of these other subtleties, these that's not a Hillary-esque type voice. And I'm being nitpicky here, but I'm not trying to sway one way or the other. I'm trying to sift through it and trying to find out if it really is her or if it's not.
No, it is something that has occurred a few times over the course of my life, and I'm aware of it and usually can avoid it. What happened yesterday was that I just was incredibly committed to being at the memorial. As a senator on 9/11, this is incredibly personal to me, and I could feel how hot and humid it was. I felt overheated. I decided that I did need to leave, and as soon as I got into the air-conditioned van, I cooled off, I got some water, and very quickly I felt better. So I felt fine, but I'm now taking my doctor's advice, which was given to me on Friday that I ignored, to just take some time to get over pneumonia completely.
A lot of people...
Okay. I don't normally hear people refer to pneumonia like that, but, it's certainly possible. But her voice, it deepens and it kind of stays deep. And that's not her normally. She doesn't normally go deep and stay deep. Her voice is always pretty high-pitched and crackly. Like it's real rough, if you will. Here, this is, I think that we got a sound clip right here of her speaking at Judge Jeanine, her opening statement, and she kind of introduces Hillary and then plays Hillary where she does her big embarrassment.
So, I go on vacation, I come back, and I have this open all planned. And last night, Hillary Clinton says this.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. Now, some of those folks, they are irredeemable, but thankfully they are not America.
Okay, so that sound clip versus what we played just a second ago of her... Here, we'll go back.
Thank you very much for the quote. Rarely, on more than one occasion over the course of the last, say, 5...
that I can recall. It is something that has occurred a few times over the course of my life, and I'm aware of it and usually can avoid it. What happened yesterday was that I just was incredibly committed.
I don't know. I'm feeling like it. I'm feeling like maybe there is a difference there. It's very subtle. It's very slight. And I know the audio is not the best of audio. It's kind of tough to listen to just because it's her voice. But it's not unheard of. I mean, she's got pneumonia, and she walks out of an apartment complex to hug a little girl. Really strange stuff. It doesn't make sense at all. And so, like I promised you earlier, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to play the interview that Carrie Smith had with Gary Byrne yesterday, and this is the interview that he had speaking to Gary about Hillary and the video, the explosive video of Hillary staggering, locking up, and falling down. And there's a lot of good insight that Gary has that us folks who've never been in the Secret Service or maybe never been in the military might not know. So here's Carrie Smith and Gary Byrne.
Last Sunday was the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and has been the case since that fateful day. A memorial service was conducted. being an election year, both presidential candidates were in attendance. However, Democrat presidential nominee Hillary Clinton seemed to leave a little bit earlier than expected. The entire press corps was ordered not to follow. In order for this to be captured, a private citizen had a smartphone, and without it, nobody would have ever known what was to follow. Most of you listening have probably seen the video, and many of the mainstream media and social media have speculated on what they saw. One person on Twitter had an entirely different perspective on the events, and that was former Secret Service agent and author of Crisis of Character, Gary Byrne. He joins us right now via Skype. Welcome to the program, Gary.
Thank you. I'm grateful to be here.
All right, first of all, we assume she left and had to wait several minutes for her vehicle. So my first question is, when the subject is outside of the motorcade at a venue, where does the motorcade go? Is there like special parking, or do they just drive around?
No. They have a staging area, and they have a pickup site set, and then they have a secondary pickup site. And then in this case, no, I don't know because I wasn't there working the detail. I don't know if they were set to pick up there, but they also have to be ready to move and pick up anywhere. God forbid there's some kind of disaster, but in this case, there was some kind of medical issue, and they picked them up on the curb there where you saw.
Right. So you think that may not have even been a primary or a secondary pickup site, maybe?
It's quite possible that it wasn't.
Wow. So there was a delay there. There's been other sources that have reported that the Secret Service may have broken multiple protocols violated, such as moving the subject before they knew the transportation was in place. Do you agree with that? Were there protocols violated?
No, I don't. So here's what I see. These men and women on her detail are having to deal with a lot of things here. Not only are they having to deal with the standard terrorism, is why the Secret Service exists, and crime is clearly, and this is Gary Byrne talking, in my opinion, based on what I saw in that video and what I've seen some other video clips of Mrs. Clinton in the last 6 months or so, she clearly has some kind of health issue. Right. And what they were trying to do is get her out of the public sight before they saw something that they didn't want seen, which did not happen. We did see some very disturbing video.
Yeah, and it seems like that they were trying to prevent people from seeing it by ordering the press corps to stay behind, but then you have that one citizen, I don't even know who it was, I don't know if anybody even reported on who it was, but somebody with a smartphone just walked up, and it was one, I've scoured the internet, it's one video. There's another video that says that it's a different angle, but when you do an analysis on it, you find that it's actually somebody videotaping the exact same footage from a monitor, and they have it canted, but it actually is the same footage. So one person captured that. Now, I know in your book, Crisis of Character, you kind of talk about how one of your jobs was to kind of protect the secrecy of the president and the family and all that kind of stuff. Did you see them doing that here? Were they were going out of their way? Because a lot of people don't think of that. People think, you're just there to keep them alive and keep them from being assassinated.
No, the Secret Service's job is also to protect their reputation and their image. Every protectee has an image. So what they're trying to do clearly is get her out of the public eye before whatever medical issue she's having, people see it. And of course we do see it. And whenever you're ready, I'd be glad to walk you through how I see the video.
Yeah, we're going to definitely do that. So sure. I guess the first thing I noticed is when they were walking up to the part where she was going, I guess where she was stopped, there were two women in dark clothing that were the closest to her. They may have actually been in physical contact with her, maybe helping hold her up. Were those part of Secret Service? Were that been part of her campaign? Or do you know?
They're staff members. They're staff members.
Okay.
So if you're ever watching a video like that and you're not sure because they're dressed similar, look at their shoes. They have girly shoes on. They have women's dress shoes on. And a Secret Service agent will have a practical tie-up shoe on that almost, for lack of a better description, looks like almost like a utility shoe. They won't have dress-up shoes on. So when in doubt, look at their shoes.
Okay. I didn't even look at that. But they were dressed in I would say non-combat ready clothes. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, you're right. They're dressed to kind of give them away as staffers, but they're staffers. And then the other people you see now when the video starts. Is it all right if I start talking about it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as the video starts, you see Mrs. Clinton leaning up against those metal poles. Right. Those are called ballards, and they're designed to protect that area. They've been there. They're part of the 9/11, museum memorial area, and they're to protect the patrons that go there from somebody driving a vehicle up, with a bomb or something. You can't drive past those. Anyway,
they're too close together. Yeah.
Well, and they're built into the center of the earth. Right. But anyway, so Mrs. Clinton is leaning up against that. The things you want to look for is her behavior and the agent's behavior. So her behavior is she's stiff. If you look at her, she's stiff. She's leaning up against that post, that ballard, and the only thing it's really touches is like her lower back. And if you watch it, you can see her kind of moving. Now, I'm not saying she's having a seizure, but I'm saying she's not acting normally. Set aside the medical stuff. Watch what she's doing. She's rigid. She's still, and she's staring straight ahead.
One of the things you point out in a tweet was that she doesn't even look over to notice that the van's pulling up. She just has that 1,000-yard stare straight ahead.
Exactly. And the person on the left is clearly, they have her hand up in her armpit, is clearly helping her stand or controlling her. And then as the vehicle approaches, again, she doesn't change her posture. Think about how you act or somebody you're with when a vehicle comes up. Now, granted, people that are being protected by the Secret Service usually wait for a key instruction from the detail leader, but this is another key thing. The one agent, the bald head agent, walks around. I believe he's the detail leader. He walks once the van pulls up and the door opens. The other agent opens the door, and he goes to the left side of Mrs. Clinton. The man I think is the detail leader walks around between Mrs. Clinton and the open van door. The only reason he would do that, because basically he's blocking her entrance to the van, and the longer that she's out of the van, she's in more danger. The reason he does that is because he knows, this is my interpretation, he knows she can't move without him.
Oh, I would have never thought of that. Wow.
So he turns around, and he's on her right side. He puts his arm underneath of her, just like you see the agent on the left-hand side do. And when he does it, Mrs. Clinton drops. You see her knees buckle.
Oh, yeah.
And then the agent, the detail leader on the right, they start moving her forward. She's not moving on her own. If you look at the video, there's a clip of the video where they isolate her foot. Her knees are bent and her toes are, or one toe on her right leg is dragging.
Yeah.
She's clearly not able to support her own weight. And it's so sad to watch.
Yeah, the top of her foot is on, against the ground, so she obviously you almost think that she might be completely unconscious. Now, I was going to ask you about that. In the case that she may have been completely unconscious, she was actually upright against that metal post. Could she be wearing something that would keep her upright if she was completely unconscious?
That's possible, but I don't have any knowledge of that. Here's my take on it. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but I am good at observation. And I've done a little research. If she was it's possible that if she was having some kind of seizure, that would cause her to be rigid. So I have researched this a little bit. I'm not implying that that's what's happening. I'm saying it is a possibility. So if she's having some kind of medical issue where she's having a seizure, it could cause her to be rigid. I don't know that that's happening, but I do see her being rigid. And then I see as they move her forward, she buckles under her own weight, and they're basically holding her up with her arms, under her armpits. And then the people in the van are grabbing her and pulling her forward.
Right. I was going to ask you about if they knew that she was going to have to be physically placed in the car. How come she fell anyway? Was that a surprise to them? Did they think that maybe that she would be able to do it on her own, and then surprisingly she couldn't, and then she fell anyway?
Yeah, my take on it is, unfortunately, my belief is this is not the first time they've seen this, and I'll talk about that in a minute as we get to the end of the video. Is basically what I saw was the reason she dropped a little bit was because the agent on the left-hand side, he had to switch positions with the staff member. So when he put his arm under, she clearly needed that support, and she came down. Now, of course, he caught her, and you have to give these guys credit. They're being very professional. Clearly, again, this is one of the reasons I think this is not the first time they've seen this and had to do it. They get her in there pretty well based on what we were seeing, but they're in such a hurry to leave, and she's having such a hard time controlling her body that one of her shoes actually falls off.
Right.
Because later on, somebody picks it up and hands it to an agent in the follow-up car. Now, this is another significant thing, and another thing I'd like to describe to you is, if you saw this same behavior, if this was me and you standing there with somebody else, and I acted like this, the first thing you would do was take me to a hospital. Am I right?
Well, yeah, and the question is, did that happen? I know that she was at Chelsea's for a while.
Right, so here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting to. They know what's wrong with her. She's being treated medically. There was somebody in the van who could have been a medical person, and they took her to Chelsea's. Whatever happened to her, whatever medical condition is going on there, whether it has something to do with the flu, they know about it, and they took her to the apartment, the family member's apartment, because she was going to be treated there. And if that's the only place they went, which everybody believes is the truth for now, she was treated there, and then a little while later, about an hour and a half later, she came out and looked relatively normal. So the fact that they didn't take her to a hospital means they knew she was going to get treatment, and this is the deal that they've set up. So this is the plan. This is how you know what I'm saying?
Leaving early was obviously unexpected, but what happened to her is expected, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
It's something that's ongoing. That's the way I read it. Yeah.
The guy that opened the door, he was a larger black man. There's some speculation on the internet that that's the same guy that was called the EpiPen man. Is that the same guy, or is that somebody else? I couldn't really get a good look.
No. So the guy you're describing, that I believe is somebody who's a medical professional. They just happen to be about the same size and look similar. The guy that you saw, we'll describe as the larger black agent. He's a Secret Service agent because he had the same shift pin. This is how I can tell them apart, because the Secret Service employees wear shift pins. I was in the uniform division. If I had been there in my uniform, if I still worked there, I would have not had a shift pin, because they would have known who I was because I was in my uniform. If I was in a suit helping them as a UD officer, I would have had a shift pin on. So that's how agents and Secret Service employees, agents and officers, identify agents by their shift pin.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, you said something in one of your tweets about a harness or something. Should she be wearing a harness, and why would that be?
Actually, what I was describing was, typically, and I have to be careful how I say this, because it sounds almost like anti-gender, but typically protectees in the Secret Service, presidents were men. Not that they haven't protected women before, but typically, and I actually use Vice President Cheney to describe this. When the Secret Service would ask a protectee, a man usually, to wear a special belt. They gave him a belt, a black one and a brown one, and it was reinforced with a piece of nylon inside the belt to make it strong. So in the case of, and this is how I brought Vice President Cheney into it, during 9/11, 15 years ago yesterday, when they thought the White House was coming under attack, the agents moved him from the Vice President's office down to the secure area, and Vice President Cheney described it that his toes barely touched the ground, that they were holding him by his arm and by his belt. We used that belt. They used that belt to steer him. Now, a woman dresses differently. She doesn't have that belt. Right. That's the only thing the point I was trying to make.
I got
So they had to control her. They had to help her by using her arms and under her arms.
So in your book, Crisis of Character, you say that Hillary Clinton suffers from major character flaws that make her unfit for president. There's been this pivot, a big pivot, of several weeks ago, and now it's a massive pivot all the way across the board, that she's medically unfit. I know you're not a doctor, but
I do based on what I see. Yeah, I'm not a doctor, but I'm an expert observer. And what I observe concerns me. Listen, I don't like her politics. I don't like the way she treats people, but I don't want anything to happen to her. And I'll be honest with you, I was almost nauseated watching what was going on.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she lost control of her body, and I feel terrible about it. But here's the thing about it. We will never, ever, ever know what the truth is, because the Clintons, Bill and Hillary, and the Clinton machine and the Democratic Party, as I saw it from my experiences, do not ever have the ability to tell the truth. And they'll just keep spinning it.
Is there anything else in the video that the average non-Secret Service agent might have missed that we didn't go over yet?
Well, from no, not that I can think of. I have to tell you, I think we covered everything. I will say, from my standpoint as a uniform division officer, you noticed in the video there's a couple. They look like Port Authority police officers that were assisting, but what I saw the detail do was professional. They did the best they could under the situation. They certainly did. I mean, that wasn't when they were supposed to leave, but they made it work as best as possible. When you see the agents towards the end of the video move in front of where they think the camera is, or they see a camera, somebody videoing, that's standard procedure. They're not just doing that because they don't want somebody to video it. They're doing it because it closes the gaps. And God forbid somebody pulls out a firearm.
Right.
That's what they're doing. Everything revolves around repelling an attack. So, and they did having been close to their shoes, I was in the uniform division, but having protected the Clintons and having worked around protectees before that had health issues, I think they did an excellent job.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You're listening to former Secret Service agent Gary Byrne, and he's the author of Crisis of Character. How can people get your book?
My book, Crisis of Character, can be found on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and just about any other place you typically buy books at a bookstore. Barnes & Noble, BAM, Books A Million, they're out there.
This is my second interview with you. The first one, I read the book and we did a whole book interview on it. Yeah. I'm going to tell everybody right now, it's a great book. There's so many stories packed in there. You were protecting the presidents, and you were right there in the Oval Office and all over the White House, and it's just exciting during the Monica Lewinsky scandal and everything else. Sure. And how can people follow you?
They can. I have a YouTube channel, Gary Byrne. You can find my YouTube channel. I can also on Twitter. I'm at Gary Byrne author. At author Gary James Byrne. And I can also, just by Googling my name, Gary Byrne, it'll bring up all those links.
Okay, and we'll make sure that we link all of our listeners to you too. And I thank you so much for being on again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Wow, what an incredible interview. Great job, Carrie. And you heard it from Gary. I mean, that was really detailed, very intuitive, and it just kind of lays out the whole thing that's going on with Hillary. So stay tuned for the rest of the week. Like I said, today is day 56. Tomorrow will be day 55. We are getting so close to this election. Let's hope that Hillary holds on so that Trump can trounce her. And by the way, for those of you who are doubting or maybe even speculating that maybe the DNC is going to throw somebody else in there, no, that's not going to happen. Hillary and Kane have already been slated in all 50 states, and there's deadlines to meet. And you've got to submit that, and once you've submitted it, you can't retract it, because like the absentee ballots have already been sent out in some of these states, so you can't retract those. They can't come back, so you can't change your candidate. So Hillary's kind of in a rock and a hard place, and I don't feel sorry for her whatsoever. If she's got pneumonia, I don't feel bad for her. If she's got whatever she's got, I don't feel bad for her. I've gone through the list of people that she's murdered and killed and had killed, the evil things that she's done, how she's absolutely decimated the country of Haiti, just raped and pillaged the entire country. Nigeria, where we all know all the scams come from the early internet days. It always came out of Nigeria. Well, she went to Nigeria and raped and pillaged Nigeria, took a lot of weapons and put them in the hands of warlords so warlords could take over Nigeria, and then they would get Hillary and people connected to Hillary would get permits to mine gold and diamonds and oil, whatnot, whatever they could get a hold of, and the mineral rights. And it's just a shame. I have no sympathy for the woman, just because I've never known anybody as evil as she is, and she's gotten away with so much that it's just like the whole OJ thing. You know, OJ got away with so much. He went to Vegas, and nobody felt sorry for him for robbing those people at gunpoint. I mean, it's just what it is. All right, folks. Well, that's the end of our morning brief. Stay tuned every morning, and we will get you set up for the next day to come, and then prepare yourself for Sunday evening where we'll wrap it all up. Have a good day now.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.
A liar.